So when I think of global mobility, I think of getting the right people in the right places at the right time. And ultimately, global mobility should be used as a talent strategy to attract and retain diverse talent. So while mobility professionals definitely are the gatekeepers and coordinate a lot of the logistics and make sure that we're staying compliant with immigration and tax and things like that, we're also a strategic partner. So we basically advise and counsel and educate businesses and come up with creative solutions to help businesses manage and meet their goals. And we also empower employees. And the mobility program is empowering employees to advance their career. You will find that in a lot of global companies, global mobility opportunities is important for employees as it relates to their career advancement and growth.
For a contract-driven business like government contracting, it's often about filling a position. For more of a commercial product-driven business, it's a way to develop their leadership talent and gain sort of a diversity of ideas. I think one of the key points when it comes to global mobility in the business is many times they can see global mobility as an adversary, and to kind of overcome that adversarial relationship, I think it's really important to have an open dialogue and educate the business on what it takes to do business overseas so that you can turn that no into a yes when they come to you for advice and guidance.
I think for the global mobility for the business is becoming a core element. And I think it was not the case like 10 years ago, 9 years ago, but it's every year, with each case, it becomes much more a core part, a part of the business. And when I say business, I think it becomes the business plan, the strategy of the companies.
My take on what is global mobility for someone who has not had a lot of exposure to global mobility before is that in my understanding, what we're doing, what mobility is really about making international work. Now, today, modern workforce, modern companies, it's clear that mobility definitely is the backbone of any international business. And we're helping basically the companies to connect the talent with the opportunities that happen to be, across the border. So we do that at the same time. Of course, our mandate, interestingly, does include to help keeping the companies and the employees on the right side of the law. So that's an important part of our work. And interestingly enough, I've been with mobility for quite some time. So I've seen this, for me, a very historic shift where from primarily, let's say, compliance-driven function, we've evolved into this position today where I would say, are considered to be a truly strategic enabler for the business. This I haven't seen happening anywhere before since the beginning. So for me, definitely, it's a very precious historic moment that we all are living through.
The relationship between HR and mobility is absolutely essential and critical. And it's been something that in my career, I've really advocated in keeping that connection. Sometimes it's requiring, being the one to actually knock on doors and break down those barriers. But it's absolutely critical that we are really a one HR, and we're working really closely together, and we understand what programs and strategies are putting in place and the impact that might have on employees that fall under the global mobility policy. So I think continuing to really strengthen those relationships is critical. I'm thinking about the recruitment organization and how important it is to work with them as they're trying to find talent around the world, and helping them understand the immigrations or the implications and the limitations from an immigration perspective, and trying to get those candidates, particularly in a current coronavirus environment, and probably for a number of months still to come. So it's really important that we're in really tight connection and understand what's happening from a recruitment perspective, obviously with payroll, as we're trying to set up individuals working remote from new locations, ensuring that we have payrolls in place in those new locations and countries is also really critical, as well as really not just connecting and very closely staying in touch with the broader HR community, but I think other departments and teams outside of HR. And one that comes to mind really closely is the risk and security teams, as well as the tax team.
Over the last couple of years, we've noticed, and you can see and feel that women have been increasingly leading the way in global mobility by shaping the future of international businesses and travel, work dynamics. We've seen more women taking roles in the mobility space and also taking on the global workforce. Women's participation overall has steadily increased, and there is still a lot to be done, but I think we're in the right path. We've seen that as well in leadership roles. Women have a seat at the table, and that's also a very, very positive sign. I also believe that the dynamics of work have also shaped and enabled women to lead the way in global mobility by shape of remote work. With the incorporation of remote work, women can balance work and personal life and manage careers while balancing all these commitments and continue to contribute to the evolution of work and how it can be done globally. And in that line as well, we've seen a lot of shift in driving inclusive policies when it comes to leaves, safety concerns, gender-related challenges, a lot of advocacy for the implementation of inclusive practices that help create mobility programs that are good to support employees regardless of gender. But interesting to see here, Karin, your thoughts on this.
Thank you, Natalia. When we first discussed this topic with Andy, I guess you can kind of see this subject from two angles. For me, the immediate thing to jump out is mobility is full of females. We're front and center as far as representing the industry. And, it's nice that we have Andy and Nicola on the call today to balance this out from a diversity point of view. But the other side of that, of course, is how many women we have within our respective populations for our organisations going on assignments or taking up short-term business trips or short-term assignments. And both of those seem to still be on the lower side of equalness, I guess, to the equation, unfortunately. And it looks like across the board that hasn't really moved much in the last couple of years, despite some very deliberate moves from organisations and governments around the world to equal that out. On the positive side, we do continue to see some governments take steps to aid women to return to the workplace in the first place, which then hopefully they're able to access development plans within their respective employers, which see them get on the path to becoming potentially having expat opportunities. And then on the other side as well, we do see the balance being equaled out from a caring perspective around organisations increasing paternity leave policies in line with existing maternity leave policies. So that obviously then frees up women to be able to take on some of those more career-based decisions. So all in all, it's probably still in line with where we were a few years ago, but there is at least some changes that we're seeing put into policy, whether it's either at a government level or whether it's at an organisational level to move the dial. Probably not as much as we'd like to see, but at least we're heading in the right direction.
So I think this is a very timely topic with International Women's Day right around the corner on Saturday. And we are, as we all know, we are in very unprecedented times in a totally different immigration and global mobility environment as a result of the new administration we have in the U.S. And our field has continued to evolve and is evolving. And I think it's extremely important, as women leaders within global mobility, that we be adaptable. adaptability is a huge factor in what we do and how we lead our programs in the different organizations that we're a part of. We have to be adaptable to accept change and lead with those changes in place. So I'm happy to talk more about this as we continue the conversation, but really, women are taking center stage in global mobility. That was evident by Benevo's, top 250 women in global mobility. So it's a role that's expanding, but with it, we also need to continue to learn and be adaptable in order to continue the leadership that we provide.
Thanks, Davika. So I'm Natasha. I'm with Sony PlayStation, and I echo what Davika said. I think that adaptability is something we need to always present. I would add resilient. I think that at this point in the current climate, there's a fair amount of resilience that plays a part in who we are. I think women also have very strong interpersonal skills, the ability to organize, the ability to understand at a very granular level what families are going through. And the reason I say that is because I remember when I first did this as a participant in a relocation program. I went from South Africa to Switzerland. I had a 4-year-old. My husband had the job. I was the trailing spouse, right? And that experience, the experience of being able to figure out how this new world in Switzerland works, right? The cultural understanding, the ability to navigate without actually speaking German, the ability to support my husband, but at the same time be my own person, look for a place for my child. All these little things that come with being an expat play such a real part in who we become as people within the workforce. But then I took it one step further and I used all of that experience to now become the person who's helping those people do the same thing. And I believe that what makes me probably a better mobility person, a better professional in the sense of mobility and expat management is because I had the experience. Because as a woman, I went through as a mother, a career woman, a wife, trying to understand how the whole process works, right? And I think that our ability to network, our ability to be culturally connected, our ability to flex, be resilient, all of those things play out naturally. And of course, it's not to say that men don't have it, but I think that as a mother, there was just that extra piece that came with it that helped me become who I am today in the role that I am today. And that's the piece I wanted to share about my personal journey as a woman in global mobility and what made me where I am today.
My thought walking into today's call was really kind of a summary of what Natasha just mentioned. I think it's important for there to be women in the position of, mobility leading the way because we offer a unique perspective, a different leadership style perhaps. And so, that maybe fosters innovation and inclusivity. And I think that when there's a diverse leadership, then there's more equitable outcomes for an organization than when, as opposed to you just seeing, one kind of person or group of persons that are representing the organization at the highest level. And then I also think that it's nice for there to be women leading the way because we can serve as role models and mentors to those who are going to be following behind us. I know that I'm grateful to those who were role models and mentors to me, both in my personal and professional life. Probably biggest for me is my mom because, she was a role model to me at home, but although we were in different industries, she served as a great professional role model for me as well. I've had some great female bosses along the way, and I hope to be able to pay it forward. I think that I'm probably where I am today because of the upbringing that I had. I grew up in a racially and ethnically diverse immediate and extended family and neighborhood, surrounded by a lot of peers who either, they were born outside of the United States or their parents were and they moved here and they were growing up and, speaking English outside of the home, but speaking their first language inside the home with their parents and watching them having to translate. And so the concept of people moving around and helping them as a career was something that never really, I guess, occurred to me in that way. But being around a diverse group of people has always been something that has been stressed upon us in a personal setting. And so it's nice that it extends to my career now.